Mario Day was just 2 days before filming this, and the April 2nd Nintendo Switch 2 Direct looms over us. And it is the 40th year anniversary for Mario, and we do know that we are at the very least getting a brand new Mario Kart game, which I've obviously talked at length about already. But one thing that we are pretty sure about is the fact that we're most likely getting a new 3D Mario game. Probably for the holiday. And that is because Mario Odyssey was released about 8 years ago, which is an absurd amount of time. And the only thing in between Mario Odyssey and this new game is the 3D World port, which, in all fairness, did have a side mode with Bowser's Fury, which many seem to believe is a blueprint for the future of 3D Mario as a whole. The idea is that Bowser's Fury is a glimpse, is a test for open world Mario, seamless open world Mario akin to Breath of the Wild. But personally, I don't see what they mean when they say they want a seamless open world Mario game. Because what would that entail? What would that mean? And how would it work? Open world is a buzzword in the industry, and ever since its inception, I suppose, it has always been a way of padding out games to make them feel more content filled than they actually are, by basically stripping down the story and giving you freedom to go around a massive map that just has some checklists, I suppose, and it works for some games. For example, Ghost of Tsushima is kind of that. It is exactly down to formula basically every single open world game, but the thing is with that game is it keeps that sense of immersion, and it keeps that sense of mystery with exploration that a lot of these other open world games don't. They kind of point you too much into one direction, and Nintendo themselves kind of revolutionized the genre, and by naming it Open Air with Breath of the Wild, where it is truly an open world game that doesn't hold your hand, and you can actually do anything, you can actually go anywhere, which is something that even these open world games, they would say that you could do anything, you could go anywhere, but ultimately you'd be locked off from stuff like that. But Breath of the Wild, you weren't locked off. And so to accommodate for that kind of gameplay, they added stuff like crafting, weapon durability, weather systems, stuff like that. And for a game like Zelda, it works, because the thing with Zelda and Legend of Zelda is that it's always kind of had an open-ended nature. It's all about that exploration. It's all about that journey. It's all about the journey to the destination, stuff like that. However, Mario, it's not about the journey. It's about the destination. It's about getting the different stars. It's about getting different moons of the sun, the shine sprites. The thing with a seamless open world 3D Mario game is that you'd have to accommodate for an open world, a seamless open world kind of vibe, I suppose. And there's no reason to do that, really. There's no reason to change what Mario is about, because Mario is about platforming, and it's not about exploration in the same way as Zelda is. You wouldn't want to have enemy bases, you wouldn't want to have towers to fill up the map. Mario Odyssey itself is already kind of open world. It's not seamless because you have to travel between the areas, but the size of the Sand Kingdom is possibly on the same level as Lake Clapcat in Bowser's Fury. And so you have like that size as one level in Odyssey, and then you have a bunch of different levels. If you're going to make them seamless, then you're going to have to make them feel connected. And the thing with the Mario universe is that it's very purposefully unconnected, because the idea is that there's just so many fantastical, weird, unique, different areas across the world. If you had a seamless map, how are you going to explain them going from the Luncheon Kingdom to the Snow Kingdom to the Metro Kingdom? These kingdoms, they feel out of place from each other. You'd have to have a huge gap between them with a bunch of filler. You just jump in like this filler empty map kind of area, or you can have a fast travel like a Yoshi or something like that. But then you aren't moving with Mario. You're not using his movement, and I feel like that is kind of a big part of why people enjoy 3D Mario games, is because you're enjoying his movement. And if for like the entirety of the game, about 70% of the game, your gameplay is just riding on a Yoshi, riding on a Plessie, that kind of sacrifices the fun of Mario. And I don't know if it works. I think that a lot of people have an ambitious idea of what 3D Mario should be. They're like, well, if we want to change it, if we want it to be revolutionary, it has to copy Breath of the Wild's, big push. Because Breath of the Wild revolutionized the franchise, and it revitalized Zelda, and they think that by copying that and putting it onto Mario would do the exact same thing. But that's not the truth. The truth is that if they want to change up Mario, they want to make it feel different from Odyssey, they don't have to make it feel seamless. There are other ways that they can revolutionize Mario. They could even do seamless, but they'd have to find a way to fit in Mario's own identity to it. Make his kind of make it feel like an open world 3D Mario game instead of it being a Zelda game with a Mario skin. Alternatively, we have a game like Metroid Prime 4, which is coming out later this year, and that's a very interesting game to have in conversation when it comes to the open world discussion, I suppose, because Metroid Prime 1 isn't open world per se, but it's kind of similar to the 2D Metroid games, which those Metroidvanias which are kind of open world, but not really. Like, they're kind of like a 2D open world, but there's keys that you have to unlock, and you have to find those keys and to get through to the area. And I guess Metroid Prime 1 is probably the closest of the Prime games when it comes to being kind of open world, because you can find the different items, and you can then explore around the entire map when you have those tools, I suppose. I feel like a lot of people have kind of pushed for Metroid Prime 4, especially before it was actually shown off. They were like, oh, well, it has to be the Breath of the Wild moment for it, and to them, the Breath of the Wild moment would be seamless open world Metroid. And the thing with Metroid Prime is that if you are going to make it a fully open world game, is it really a Metroid game? And to be fair to them, Metroid Prime 3 is very, very different to a traditional Metroid game. It is the most linear of the main line, which is another M, I suppose. It's the most linear, it's the most dialogue heavy, it's got like several planets that you can go between with your ship. It's a very different game, but still it is a very guided experience, because I think the identity of Metroid Prime is a more story focused, and I guess it is a translation of that kind of Metroidvania style where you have different keys to unlock to get to different areas. If you can get rid of the keys just to make it feel like the Breath of the Wild moment, you are sacrificing the identity of Metroid as a series just so that you can copy Breath of the Wild. So ultimately, I don't know how Metroid Prime 4 Beyond should actually be. I mean, I'm sure it will be open-ended, open area, as all Metroid games are. But the thing is, what we've got to learn is between this and between Mario, like, just copying Breath of the Wild doesn't always equal success. I mean, another series, for example, that has been dipping its toe in open world and had a full open world game recently is obviously Pokemon, and I've talked about it at length. I had an entire video on it, obviously. But, Scarlet and Violet, they are very clearly copying that style of open world with Breath of the Wild, and especially down to the different missions that you can do in any order kind of thing. And in many ways it worked, in many ways it didn't. But the thing with Pokemon is that I feel like that kind of seamless open world fits that series a little bit better. It fits kind of the vibe that the original games were going for, that kind of set out on a journey and catch these different Pokemon and like take on the gym challenge. It's like that freedom is kind of baked in with the DNA of the series. But the thing with 3D Mario is that it's all about platforming, it's all about getting that specific star, it's all about these different wacky areas that don't need to be bothered about being so deeply connected. I think the closest we've had to that connected vibe is, I guess, Mario Sunshine, where it all was in the same area. It's all this Isle Delfino, different parts of it. But, beyond that, in Mario 64, the whole idea is that you're going through these different paintings. It's a way of literally getting to different areas that wouldn't make sense to be in the same areas by going through a portal. And obviously Mario Galaxy is, I guess, connected through the same galaxy, but you go on these different planets and they're self-contained. You have a hub world that is the Comet Observatory, and then you fly to these different little mini planets. 3D Mario doesn't need to go in that direction. It doesn't need to go seamless open world. And I don't think I've ever heard somebody that said that they want a seamless 3D Mario game explain to me how it would actually work. Because to me, Bowser's Fury isn't a great example because it is kind of already what Odyssey did. Bowser's Fury is kind of emulating Odyssey but with 3D world physics, I suppose, and 3D world graphics. So I don't understand what the hook would be. Now, if I had to, I had my gun to my head, Miyamoto was begging me for how it could actually work. Well, the thing is, one that I don't really know because I can't really wrap my head around how it would actually work. But I think to make it not sacrifice the Mario, I guess, the Mario brand, the Mario identity, I guess I would probably make it like a Super Mario journey, like a Super Mario RPG parody almost. Not a Mario RPG game, but the idea is that it's borrowing from Lord of the Rings or this kind of fantasy fiction, but almost not parodying it because that's not what Mario is, but like kind of taking from it. You have a journey across the Mario universe, or this certain iteration of the Mario universe, and you're riding on your Yoshi, and you have a little party. Maybe you have a little party of Mario friends to go with, and you have to find the theoretical ring. You have to go and get the ring, but there's several obstacles in your way. There's different regions of the map that are very, very different from each other. Again, I don't know how you would really pad this out and make it feel like a true 3D Mario game, so just feeling like a Legend of Zelda game. But I feel like the only way that I can really imagine and really envision a seamless open world Mario game is if you completely change the aesthetic to fit that kind of vibe. You service the aesthetic and the hook with the open world premise. By that same logic, a game that came out recently that I haven't played yet, I haven't played It Takes Two either, but it's Split Fiction, and that just had me thinking right now. It's the idea of different genre of books. So the idea is that, I guess, this 3D Mario game would be based on different genres of books, and each area would be almost a different book. And I don't think Mario is really foreign to the idea of that kind of almost metatextual, I guess, storytelling, where you're going into different books. Again, I don't know if this would actually work in the open world idea, but I'm just spitballing here. I feel like maybe a convergence of different genres of books into this one massive land that Mario has found himself in. There could be some sort of metaphor there, of course. There could be some sort of explanation for why it's a melting pot of these different genres, but it's a good way of kind of changing up the aesthetic of Mario. I mean, having a sci-fi land, having the traditional fantasy land, this stuff would be really cool. I mean, we got that a little peek of that with the Ruined Kingdom, and I guess we kind of got that with Metro Kingdom with the Mecha Wiggler, but we didn't really get a overly futuristic Mario aesthetic yet. So that would be a really interesting way of spicing it up and making it different. I mean, if you look in the past, obviously Mario 64 is the generic Mario, and then Mario Sunshine has the holiday vibe. You got the roller coasters, you got the fruit. You're a convicted criminal, stuff like that. The average Florida stuff, and then obviously in Mario Galaxy you're going to space, and then in 3D World and 3D Land is still generic, and then in Odyssey I guess it's almost a little bit playing on fiction, because you have Odyssey in the name, which is obviously derived from the Odyssey, but apart from that it's kind of country hopping, so you're going to different countries, different cultures. So now I guess the thing you're hopping between sort of cultures is different stories. But again, I don't really know how that would work in a seamless open world, and it kind of reinforces my apprehension, because I feel like you can get so much more creative when you're confined to just different areas instead of having to seamlessly connect them. But I guess that is the only way that you can. I feel you can replicate that kind of open world, open air feeling, is if you kind of wrap it up in the idea of a certain fictional story. I suppose it could be a good test of the Switch 2's actual power. With the whole SSD. I'm not sure if the Switch 2 actually has an SSD like the PS5, but I guess the idea would be that this is actually Super Mario Multiverse, and the different multiverse, different universes of different stories, different genres, and I guess you can seamlessly hop between them, and I suppose that is maybe perhaps the closest that you can get to a seamless open world Mario game that in my eyes keeps to the identity of the series, and continues what I believe Odyssey already perfected. Although that is getting a little bit out there. I've spitballed quite a lot here about a hypothetical Mario game, but I'm kind of sold on it. I'm kind of sold on my idea here. I would really love to see Mario take on different stories in fiction. It doesn't even have to just be archetypal ones. You could have like parodies of stuff like Jekyll and Hyde and Shakespearean plays. It would be quite funny. I think that would be really interesting. I don't think it's too out there. We literally saw a realistic dinosaur who went to a real life city in Mario Odyssey. So, Mario being weird is hopefully here to stay, and I'd be very interested to see what they could do with it. But that is kind of it for this video today. I just wanted to ramble about this because I feel like there's been a almost kind of a unanimous agreement that the new 3D Mario should be Bowser's Fury on a bigger scale. But I've never understood what that really meant. I didn't really like the idea of just Breath of the Wild-ifying Mario for the sake of it. I feel like the Breath of the Wild elements of that would actually work in a Mario game has already been adopted with Odyssey, and I feel like instead of making the game bigger in terms of being seamless, that it should be more kind of pushing its creativity and pushing its own ideas, because that's kind of the true thing in Mario that works for me. That's the best part of Mario. It's just how creative can they get. It's just they keep on one-upping each other in terms of just pure creativity, and I think that's what they should focus on going forward with 3D Mario. But what do you think? Are you kind of seeing something in that kind of Breath of the Wildification of 3D Mario that I don't, or have you got a way that we can kind of have a seamless open world Mario game that isn't just Breath of the Wild but with the Mario skin? And if so, I'd love to hear it down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, I would appreciate if you gave it a like, if you replied to anything I asked, obviously, and if you haven't already, then maybe also subscribe. So anyway, I will see you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye.